Welcome, my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. I am your host, the Grand Questioners, obviously. But, skipping all the annoying nonsense you don't care about. Topics. I initially wanted to talk about some stuff that I had rumored of the PlayStation 6 that has been popped up, but I don't think it's very reliable. So I didn't want to cover it. But essentially, what we currently have is an influx of, best way I can say is AI recreations of what the PS6 might look like, floating on social media and trying to convince people that, the PS6 is going to have like full backwards compatibility, allegedly. And like, they're trying to like really like push that allegedly to its limits. I don't particularly care for these rumors because, again, if they don't have a disk drive, then it's not really full backwards compatibility because I can't play any games I have on it. So it won't really matter unless I rebuy the entire library I already own. Which, again, if they had a disc, I could still technically do. I just wouldn't have to necessarily do it in order to access anything. And I wouldn't have to have a PS Plus account in order to access that stuff. But short and sweet of it, I don't think there's that much to them. There's already been rumors that PS5 and PS4 will be backwards compatible on PS6, and that's a bit more reasonable. But again, digital only, so it's not going to matter too much. PS1 through PS3 probably sucks to be you. So unless somebody makes one of those, like, I've been seeing this retro or like a third party look-alike to the Nintendo 64 popping around, or they had the retro third party PlayStation 1 little player. Unless you can get one of those for like a PS3, PS2, and PS1 like all in one, you're going to have to either buy them individually if they have them, but either way, you're probably not going to have the ability to play them that way, so you have to rely on old hardware. The problem with old hardware is that eventually it will die. I lost my original Xbox and my 360 the rate of death, Xbox to the power supply going out. So I have to rebuy them. Unfortunately, they're not like crazy cheap. They're cheap, but they're not crazy cheap. It's not like I can just go pay $15 and boom, I pop one out. So it's an unfortunate reality. So it is what it is. But I had thoughts on it, and I was like, but I couldn't find enough information, and I was like, that I can legit say this is good or not good. So I just decided to scrap that. That being said, I then looked at something like Marvel Wolverine, and I just got more and more depressed, so I decided I wasn't going to cover that either. So, what we're essentially going to talk about is not either of those topics, even though I kind of technically just did. But we are going to talk about two games that I'm hesitantly excited for. And I say that because, historically speaking, it's a little wishy-washy on the last decade and a half-ish, almost decade and a half-ish, about good quality content. Actually, it's more like a decade. It's probably closer to a decade. Quality content coming from a very popular IP. And it's one I have a lot of stuff behind me, which is the Star Wars. And you thought I was going to say Lord of the Rings because it's all over there. But no, I have Star Wars. I've got all my games over here, some games down here. I even got game down here, got that game, and then a couple of games over here, just random smatters and stuff. So I have a lot of Star Wars games. I grew up on Star Wars games. I love playing Star Wars games. I love the Star Wars IP up until Disney. There were still a couple that I didn't really care for, but that was because it's just they didn't interest me as much. Not that they were bad, necessarily. They could have been still bad, but everyone has their own opinions on that regardless, so I'm not going to go into that. However, there are two games coming out either at the end of this month or the beginning of next month that I wanted to cover. One of them, pull it up if I can, being, come on, Star Wars Zero Company. And it's a turn-based tactics game. I'm not like crazy on tactics games, so I'm not like sold on it in any particular means. But I will say it's good graphics. It doesn't seem to have a terrible storyline. There's like a cultish group that pops up right after the Clone Wars ends, and they're kind of working their way into things. Now, I don't know where exactly this fits in, because it seems like they have Jedi with lightsabers, and they have clones. And if you know how that ended for the Clone Wars, it didn't end that great. So you can see the trailers and stuff, but we're going to skip that. Yeah, this game looks interesting. It's coming out August 27th on Steam. You can obviously get it for PlayStation 5 and Xbox. I doubt it's going to be on Switch too, but it might be. Pre-purchase stuff. You're commanding an elite squad. It's a gritty and authentic story. I'm like, well, your guys' definition of gritty and authentic might not be the same as mine. You step in the shoes of Hawks, a former Republic officer who leads Zero Company as they recruited for an operation that pits them against an emergency threat that will consume the galaxy if left unchecked. It's not like crazy. It's just like a cult thing. But like, as you see the movements and stuff, it looks pretty freaking good. Like if they remade Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds and this graphics, I'd be tickled pink. Don't get me wrong, I love the original, but this would be really freaking good quality, and then it would be really fun to play with. They've got cool space battles, looks like. Mission intel, all that fun jazz. It looks like it could be fun. I know my personal beliefs in how warfare and tactics and stuff operates. There's some things I'm just not fond of because it's unrealistic. Like in this case, standing out in the open and shooting at people as if you're not going to get exploded, your guts everywhere. That's one of my pet peeves of that particular aspect. But you can customize certain things with different characters, weapons, all that kind of stuff, outfit looks. That doesn't bother me. But yeah, so that's coming out. Could be phenomenal. Could be terrible. But I'm hoping it's not. I think it does come off as a Star Wars game, which is impressive. But considering Outlaws is, I think, the most recent Star Wars game we got, it's not been a very good time for Star Wars fans. So hopefully this will turn into something a bit better and a bit more foundational and give us a little bit of Star Wars. I have no hopes for TV shows or movies, but we'll operate more or less differently on that. So, I don't know. I'm slightly hopeful, I guess we'll say, but we'll see, I guess, what that ends up turning into, and then just run with that. On the second, I don't know if it's necessarily a super shocker, considering the historical side of things. If anybody's grown up on, say, the Nintendo 64 or PC in the late 90s and whatnot, you're not going to be shocked that they're going to be trying to revitalize this, because it's a very popular game back then. And it retained some popularity, but obviously after the 64, it was a little difficult to get its hands on until a sequel came out. So obviously I am talking about our Star Wars Galactic Racer. Now, this comes out at the beginning of October. I don't know why I said September. I don't know why I said September. So, this is going to be basically Star Wars pod race. Star Wars Episode 1 pod racing is what it is essentially going to be. Now, this one, they're doing more than pod racers, so I don't really understand how this is going to make sense, considering pod racers are going to be exponentially faster than Zabulba's stuff. It's going to be way faster than virtually any other type of thing they're going to come up with. Like, they're not really in the same, oops, they're not really in the same vein of play, we'll say. What is funny is that it's not Lucasfilm that's making this. It's Secret Mode, which I don't know anything about. So that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. I played the snot out of Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racing when it came out, and I've continued to like it. There's a couple levels I was not particularly fond of, mostly because no matter what I did, the AI would always cheat and get in front of me somehow. And it's like they could go whoosh around corners and I had to like slow down and then go back faster. And it didn't matter how maxed out my stats were or anything. It didn't matter. So there was a couple times I didn't appreciate it. And then they had Star Wars Pod Racing Revenge, I believe is what it was called, which was kind of a somewhat of a sequel to it. And it was kind of like they revitalized. I don't know if it was supposed to be a remake, remaster, but it was essentially a follow-up. And this is going to have more like hover vehicles. It's going to have like the scout bike kind of things. It has some cool stuff. It's also pretty good graphics. You'd think nothing in this could be, you know, politically motivated or ideologically motivated. I'm hoping not. But again, how do you tell? Now, the other question is going to ultimately turn into how many people can play at the same time. I don't think any of this has any information on that. So you can compete, slam, shunt, take down rivals across varied circuits as you pilot land speeders, speeder bikes, skim speeders, and pod racers. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Now, the funny thing is pod racers should absolutely blow the smoke out of everybody else because they're pod racers. It's like a drag racer versus your Honda Civic. The Honda Civic should have no chance. So I don't know how that's going to work. It could be just an aesthetic thing. If that's the worst of the whole game, I'd be tickled pink. Dangerous underground sport. I am surprised they don't really tell you too much, but you can ride solo through a story-driven campaign of shifting alliances or brave strategic PvP grudge matches where reputation rides with you. You can climb the ranks. Again, it doesn't say anything about if it's like you can have 10 people racing in the same race. I'm trying to remember how many they had in the older games, but I don't know if they're running off of the older games. So it won't necessarily be bound to that. I do think that there are some aspects that maybe they'll just overkill it. Maybe they'll make it very simple. Maybe it's going to be like a 4v4. Maybe it's going to be something of that nature. I don't know. I've thought about it, and I've come to the conclusion that they could do this about 7 billion different ways, where you could have it be your standard 4-player, or they could do the Mario Kart route where you could have everybody, like a 12 to 16 group, and you could play with everybody. And if that's the case, you could have giant parties of people who have the game playing it together and have fun with it. Obviously, it doesn't have little item boxes you can hit. Although that would be really funny if they didn't introduce that. You don't have item boxes that give you a blue shell, red shell, green shell, banana peels, coins, you know, the normal Mario Party style-esque thing. It's going to be just raw racing, which is still fun. But, you know, if you're playing a game with racing and you have more party elements, like a group of friends that want to play this together, it's much easier to pull it into perspective, I guess, and make it say, hey, I want to play a party game with my friends. Do we just race or do we race with stuff? So the PC side of this has a lot of potential, because the PC side of this could pretty much have mods bring in a Mario Party-esque type thing for it, which could be freaking hilarious. Like, have a box that you hit and then it pops open and you give this little item, and this item's like lightsabers that spin, and you can like fling it at somebody and causes them to blow up or to spin out of control or whatever. there are lots of cool, fun ideas. There are lots of cool, fun ideas that you could potentially work with this. So, uh, from my perspective, I think PC has the greatest potential. Obviously, you have your Xbox and your PlayStations, but I don't know if those will be as popular, because again, modding community can come in and do some crazy stuff. And I'm honestly surprised that every modding community for every racing game hasn't created some semblance or form of a Mario Party-esque, or not Mario Party, Mario Kart-esque type of party game mod, where you can basically turn anything into this just cool fun stuff. Like, imagine Need for Speed, but like Lego Racers. So Need for Speed, you're driving around, you hit this little box thing, it gives you a special power-up, and that power-up helps you in your race against your opponents. That could be funny, just in its very nature. So why haven't they done it? I don't know. Maybe people who play those games typically take it more seriously and less for fun. They do it more for like, I'm just the best or whatever. Because again, competitive play. I get it. It's competitive. But Mario Kart's competitive between some players. Like, everybody wants to get first. Everyone, dunks on the people that they beat consistently, and people below are like, I'll get you yet. And it has a really fun experience to it. But ultimately, I'm not sure which direction anything will particularly go in, because there's lots of ideas I would have. I think that a mod for racing games in general, to have a party-esque thing, could bring a lot of people into playing the game that wouldn't probably normally play the game. So ideally, that could be a possibility in the future. I don't know if that's a reality. It probably won't be unless somebody gets an idea. So if you're a modder and you want to make that mod, I'll download it. That would be fun just to play. And yeah, I get it's not in the Star Wars sense of, that's not what Star Wars is about. It's not about party boxes, and it's not about, yeah, I don't care. It's a fun side option. It's not the actual concept of the game. The actual concept of the game is already there, but it is something that you could participate in with your friends, potentially even competitively, and just have fun with it. It's just fun. But it's not rewriting the whole thing to be something it's not inherently. It's not like all of a sudden Star Wars turns into, I don't know, freaking Potato Racers 500 or something like that. It's not going to turn into Gran Turismo. It's not going to, it's not changing everything. And you could if you wanted to. Again, mods are there for you to have the aesthetic or the feel if you want. But ultimately, it's a Star Wars game, so who knows what it's going to work with. But these are two Star Wars games that I particularly have leanings towards. I'm hoping they come out good. I don't see how you could screw up a Galactic Racers, but it's possible. There could be cutscenes. There could be some talks in between where somebody tries to girl boss or somebody does whatever. I don't know. I don't want it to have that. I want it to just be Star Wars. I want it to be like, you have organizations that do organizational things. It's dangerous. It's underground. It's supposed to have lots of competition between people who don't like each other and people who might like each other, but they're like, I realize we're opponents in this regard. But I can't see how you could really pull that off. I think that one has the higher chance, like a 90% chance it's safe. 95% chance. Zero Company, it's a bit more difficult to understand. It has, out of the two, way more options because there's more story and whatnot. It's a story-driven game, so it has more options for it to just go sideways really quick. But I think it looks moderately free of all that other nonsense and just is more locked into the story of Star Wars. I don't know, because I mean it's basically I don't know if it's still the Republic or whatever versus the Fathom cult or whatever, which I guess is basically the Goa'uld from Stargate. So I'm not really sure. I don't understand. It's a parasite thing that gives you powers. It's the Goa'uld. That's what I get from it. Hashtag save Stargate. But yeah, those are my things that I wanted to talk about today. A little bit shorter and sweeter than what I normally get. We'll just have to see. I mean, we got the end of this month for Zero Company, and then we have the beginning of October to get the Galactic Racers, and hope all goes smoothly. I do miss good Star Wars, and unfortunately Disney does not want to give us that usually, so fingers crossed. But yeah, thanks everybody for sticking around and watching my video, and I appreciate all of you. Leave a like, dislike, comment, subscribe, or otherwise, as you will and as you feel the need to or not to. And I hope you guys will join me the next one, or hop into one of my Monday night live streams and just have fun in the chat, play games with me and stuff. It's good. It's good old time. It's good old time. Also check the description for any other potential YouTube channels that maybe they suit your fancy, maybe they don't. They're people I like and I would like to support, so that's my way of doing it. Thanks everybody, and remember, my friends, walk in the light.